If you go back through our previous videos, you'll see there was quite a lot of content that we covered in respect to conducting your own due diligence on buying a property and just different considerations. We're not claiming to be the font of all knowledge, but we've actually walked the path. We've been through a painful experience of an unsuccessful purchase. We've also actually purchased a property here. But in addition to that, we've known countless other people who have also gone down that path. And we have seen many examples of how things can go really wrong when buying a property here in Paraguay. With that all said, we decided to put together our property buying guide, and that details a whole range of stories. Names, places have been changed to protect the innocent. But there are real lessons to be learnt from all of those stories that if anyone was thinking about buying a property here in Paraguay and they weren't aware of these experiences that others have had, well, I would be really concerned that they may be at risk of falling foul of one of the many hurdles or pitfalls that may lay ahead. It's not about fear-mongering, it's about being real. The Paraguayan legal system is littered with the bones of foreigners who have come and tried to buy property under circumstances, arrangements and contractual agreements that did not properly protect them. And it's not until you find yourself in that situation that you realise how different Paraguay is compared to many other places we come from. There are people that call themselves lawyers, escribanas, which were like conveyancers where I came from. There are even people that call themselves real estate agents. But it's only when something goes wrong that you really appreciate that although they look like some of the animals that we were used to in the jungle we came from, they are a very different set of wildlife. And things happen in an incredibly different way to what they may roll out if you're in the country that you've come from. No matter how skilled or experienced people are in buying properties in other places, it just does not equip you for buying a property in a place that's so different and operates in a very different way. And we can walk a path 1,000 times to the point where we are so used to doing it that we can proceed in the dark. But it's not until we walk a different path that we realise that if we haven't listened to some of the stories of people who have gone down that path, well, we may trip ourselves up. And so it is with Paraguay. It's not about us claiming that we've got the single source of truth, but we have personally come to a position where there is a certain way of safely buying property in Paraguay, and then there are countless other ways that we would deem to be risky. The way that we propose to buy property is detailed in our property buying guide, and we're always happy to hear from anyone else who has got a different idea about how to buy property, because if there's more than one safe way to do it, well, we're all ears. The most important thing is that we go in with our eyes wide open. We take on board all of the risk factors and just make our own decisions. The worst thing is not losing money when we've taken into account all of the risk, because that's just how life rolls. I think it's worse when we proceed and take a tumble and we weren't aware of the risks, either because we didn't avail ourselves of them, we didn't take the time, or maybe we were just too arrogant, or we were just too full of our own ability or our perceived ability to call the play and get it all right. There's many different shades of why people find themselves in a pickle, but the truth is Paraguay is a place where many foreigners come unstuck, and it does not discriminate. So there it is. I'm just suggesting that if anyone is thinking about looking at property here, I'll just consider perhaps looking at some of our earlier content. There's a link in the description below. It's only a few bucks to purchase our property buying guide, and it will either reinforce some of the things you know, or it might be enlightening in respect to some of the really creative ways that things can go sideways. But whatever the case, knowledge is power when it comes to buying property. And when you're a foreigner in a place like Paraguay, the more knowledge you can have, the better. And not just knowledge that you're going to get from the social circle that you fall into when you come here. Some people are actually in a sales funnel before they even arrive in Paraguay, because that's the way some of the methods of getting here go. But regardless of where you get your information, advice, guidance, experience from, I just recommend just being as diverse as you can and not just taking the advice of, I guess, some selected people to tell you that that's the way that things always roll in Paraguay, because that is most certainly the worst advice. That being, this is the only way. We would only follow a certain way of buying property, but it's not the only way. There are countless others. You be the judge. What is the safest way to buy property in Paraguay? If you've got a better way than what we recommend, please drop us a line, because we're all ears. And the property that we purchased, I don't think is the last property we'd buy here. So if there's a better way, let's talk it out. But always remember that Paraguay is a buyer's market. There are many properties here. And in a buyer's market, well, the one thing that should always be the case is the buyer goes by terms and conditions that will absolutely protect them. And that's what it's all about as far as I'm concerned, buying a property in a way that best protects you, the buyer. And if you don't find a set of terms and conditions that can do that, well, there's always another property. But unless you're made of money, well, no one can afford to just make some of the mistakes that we've seen made. Because when it comes to property, sometimes you can make mistakes of the magnitude that some people can't come back from. So I hope that's useful to someone out there. Always feel free to drop us a line. Really interested to hear your comments below as to how you think that people should proceed when they buy a property in Paraguay, because everyone's got an opinion. And I think the most important thing is just to form whatever opinion you have on the best information. Sounds good to me anyway. So until next time, take care. Ciao.
No hubiera pensado que yo me iba a enamorar jamás. No quería saber nada más, nunca más. Pero vos apareciste de repente y me hablaste con una voz tan dulce que perdí la razón y mi corazón. Ay, amor, no te preocupes.